Welcome to Brobench release recap. We are releasing version 4.10 codenamed Kuiper. So this codename is named after Kuiper belt, which is a region beyond our the edge of the solar system, beyond Neptune, that has a lot of icy objects. So that particular belt is named after Gerard Kuiper, who proposed that particular theory that there is a belt of objects like that. So that is a source of that is where the majority of the short-lived comets come from, like for example Halley's comet. Okay. So it's pretty interesting, that particular region of the space, so go check it out and get to know more about it. Okay, so let's talk about the changes. So we have a lot of exciting changes in this particular release. So the primary one being the user manager. Okay, so this is a new module that we are introducing that is all about managing the users in your org. Okay, so it has a few core capabilities at this time, but we're going to be keep enhancing with the more user the related aspects and the features to help you manage and or administer your org better. To access this feature, you go to the Brobench, and then you can click here and then select a user manager. Okay, or you can also add this particular tab to your default set of tabs. If you can customize what tabs are shown. So in this case, I have added, it shows up here. So you can click on that and then it shows up here. So when you go there for the first time, it wouldn't show any users because it wouldn't perform a default search. However, you can select and you can do that. It has a mechanism of selecting some predefined the list views. So then after that, you will be able to specify a search term and search for them. So when you search for a particular user, it shows all the users matching that, and then you can select one or more users and you can perform various bunch of actions on them. The primary one being the compare users. So this is one of the most, I think, the significant feature that will add a tremendous value for you to troubleshoot your access issues in a user. For example, it lets you compare all the pump set, the differences between various users, pump set groups, object access. It shows all the different objects. In fact, you can even say, show me the differences between those two. You can see what differences, that there is. You can see the differences for fields and various other things. It does have a few other features. For example, you can enable debug, or you can reset passwords, or also you can view the details of those users in a little bit more detail, right? So, for example, the pump set, groups, and whatever. Okay. So it is a powerful module, so go check it out and see how you can benefit from that. Okay, next step, we have added Apex jobs. So you can see and manage your visualize your Apex jobs, but it's not that side forward, right, to see all of those details in the standard UI. So we've added Apex jobs module here. It shows the details for your org, all the Apex jobs in a timeline view, so you can quickly see what is failed at what time and other status. It'll also let you search and filter to your heart's content to pinpoint exactly the job that you want to explore more details about. Okay, next step, the field analysis bulk API support. So Brobench has one of the best, the field analysis module. It lets you analyze the field usage, what percentage of the field is modified, and it lets you analyze at a record type level. So for example, if you have a record type, a particular field is visible only for a particular record type. It'll also show the layout, the population percentage by the record type, so you can really deep dive. And so far, this particular feature supported only the batch API to query data, but in this version, we are adding a bulk API so that you can analyze a huge number of records in a very, very short interval. For example, we recently had to analyze for one of the client, we analyzed 13 million records within a span of 20-25 minutes. Okay, so go check it out. So if you haven't used that, that can be a great add-on for your capability. Okay, next step. So we have Datagrid search, row search in fields. So when you query data, for example, let's say I'm querying all the accounts. you can see that, it shows all the data, and you can go here and you can search for them. For example, let's say I want to search for 0. It shows, 0 is there in a lot of places. But so far, this will search all the fields, all the columns in this particular data set. And there is a mechanism to go and search individual. For example, you can click here and you can filter. But we are adding another capability here. You can select the fields that you want to search by. For example, let's say I want to search by the account number or annual revenue. Now we can enter. Now it will search only within those 2 fields. Okay. Of course, you can select multiple fields and then you can clear if you want to search again back in all other. Okay. So this is the selected search field in the Datagrid. Next step, we have a record shares. Okay, so when you are viewing a particular record, Salesforce, the Brobench shows a lot of information. For example, it shows the child records, the history. You can custom tabs that you have, files and hierarchy, what have you. We are adding a new tab called shares. It shows all the share record for that particular record that we are viewing, and also it will let you add the shortcut here. So if you click on the view users, it takes you to a UI page where you can see there are individual user who has access to this particular record and the reasons why they have access. Okay, so this is a record shares feature in here. Okay, next step, cross org query. So for example, let's say we are viewing particular data in a particular org, and then you want to see, you are currently in one different org. Assume that, this is a stage. You want to see how this looks, this particular data. For example, let's say we're exploring settings, how this data looks in a different org. Of course, you can open the Brobench in other org and run them, and then you can compare. But in this edition, we're adding capability to do cross org query within Brobench. So you can select the query that you want to run, go here, select connection, and then you can run. So you can see right here, the query that is executed against other org and right here. So now we can compare the data more easily without having to go through, running another tab and run them. To the same level, it also supports viewing the data, object details across the orgs. So to do that, for example, let's say you're in a particular account. You can click here, go to open an account, and then select whichever the org for which connection for which you want to see those details. And all the cross org object, the tabs are highlighted in the corresponding connection color. So in this case, the connection, the PPRDS that it chooses has a red color, so it's highlighting as a red, and which is non-highlighted is a local, which is the one that we are currently viewing. Okay. So next step, we have query hide fields. Okay, let's go and query all the fields in the account. You can see there are 87 fields. And you know that out of 87, there are a lot of them doesn't have any of the data. So you can, of course, browse, and you can see that, you have a lot of empty space and all that. So we have added this capability here called to hide the blank fields. So when you click on it, all the columns where all the rows is blank, so those columns will be hidden, so that you really get only the columns that have some data in them. Similarly, you can also hide system fields, okay, like a created ID, created by name, so on and so forth, and as well as read-only fields. So where the field is read-only, either you don't have access or inherently read-only, for example, like a formula fields. So this is a great way to remove, some of the data out of your view, so you can really focus on the columns that have some data for your analysis. Okay. Next step, we have execute and fetch all. So for example, let's say you are running a query that returns a lot of data, so that has more batches, right, that you have to fetch. Notice that we have refactored, that little bit, the icon was here, now it is moved over here. So you can go and fetch more batches. Of course, you can click on the one single batch at a time, or you can go and fetch more batches. However, if you are sure that the query matches multiple records and you want to fetch all of them so that you can search across, right, and you can search for data and all that, you can go here and say execute and fetch all. So this would execute the query, fetches all the records that have matched, so without just showing the first batch of records. So when you do that, it's running a query and it is fetching the more batches till the end of the match records, and then at one shot it shows all the match records. Okay, so these are great if you want to export quickly, or if you want to do filter across all the rows. Keep in mind the filters applies only for the rows that are in the grid. So if you haven't fetched, it's not applying. So if you fetch all, you'll be able to do a search. And for example, even the grouping, for example, let's say if you want to group by particular, using data grid capability, so you can't group unless you have all the records. So this can be useful to do that. And last but not least, so we have introduced a module menu. So you might have already seen that we have added this particular icon that lets you easily access the modules easily without having to go to multiple levels of menus. And another advantage, so we have added a recently used modules here. So for example, in this case, these are all the modules that have accessed, and anytime you access the module, that will show up there. For example, let's say you access a quick loader, and next time you go here, so that will be shown on the top because that was recently accessed. 5 recently used modules are shown here, and also you can use it to search. For example, let's say instead of having to scroll, you can search quickly and get the modules. Okay, so these are new modules menu that we're introducing in this version. Okay, so this is all about the features that we're releasing in version 4.10, and hope you guys use them and share some feedback. Thank you.